We're planning a lot earlier this year than we ever have, not only just on the MA side of it, but also on the PDP side as well. We're going to see some shakeups with the PDP market as well. There's going to be a lot of PPO exits, and there's definitely going to be some premium increases with lower benefits, lower freebies, lower Part B givebacks and stuff like that. That's a given, and it's going to happen to most of the major carriers that are out there.
Hey guys, we are back again. Another little Inside EIP with Jagger again today. And over the last couple conversations that Jagger and I have had, we've talked about a few different things from lawsuits to regulatory changes. Today we're going to change it up a little bit and go into kind of what we're thinking is going to happen this annual enrollment period, what we're expecting, what the just kind of overall sentiment is from people that we talk to, what we're seeing in the news with different articles out there. I know you've probably seen some of these articles yourself if you're in the insurance business, but we want to just kind of forecast what we're doing for AEP and what we're thinking might be happening this upcoming year. And more specifically, what we're talking about today is the overall Medicare and more specifically Medicare Advantage market, what we're doing to prepare for it. So we actually just had a conversation with somebody a little bit earlier, and this conversation came up, and so we think it's a perfect thing to talk about. Let's talk about PPOs and PDPs and what we think is going to be happening this year in MA. Jagger, what do you what's the overall sentiment? I know you went to a couple of the rollouts and everything. Obviously, can't talk about any proprietary.
We've got some information, but it's not information we can put out yet. So we can talk high level of kind of, what we're seeing. We can't be carrier specific. So we'll leave the carrier names out of it so we don't get in trouble. And this is on a lot of the Facebook groups that are out there. I've talked to other people that aren't direct that already have this information. So it's the information's getting out there, but we won't talk carrier specific.
We don't have to talk carriers, but there's definitely articles referring to certain carriers.
Yes.
So you can nail down what we're talking about. But I think, what I've seen coming out of some of those articles and just overall is last year annual enrollment period was a big year. And we can specifically talk, Humana had major service area reductions last year. Aetna had some service area reductions last year. We dealt with a lot of plans being non-commissionable, taken off of electronic enrollment platforms and
very
things
few
along those lines.
5-star rated plans last year. It was a big shakeup year last year, and I think we're going to see the same thing this year.
Absolutely, I think this year is going to be just as big. And what I want to discuss is kind of how my clients that I've had over the past 15 years, whenever something like this happens in my area or with any of my clients, the way it stresses them out. And I'm sure we have heard it on the phones. I'm sure anybody out there that's in the business has had a client get a letter that says either A, your hospital's not going to be a network, or your doctor, or, hey, this plan's not renewing next year, but here's another option for you. And so how are we preparing for that as a business? Because it's not just our clients, but we've got to think about those things. We've got to prepare for them because we've got a lot of people to take care of.
Yeah. And they typically give this information 2 weeks before 10/1, before the plans actually come out. So we're typically scrambling over here to figure out, what does the service area reductions look like? What do crossovers look like? And now that we've got a bigger book of business on the Medicare Advantage side of it, where we didn't have to worry about this 3 years ago, since we started selling Medicare Advantage, about 2.5 years ago now, Now we're starting to have to pay attention to it. Now we have to put that into our business plan of, okay, well, hey, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our clients today that are having the service area reductions, right? And even the crossovers, right? It doesn't always mean, when you move from one plan over to another plan, that's the best plan for them. Is their doctor going to accept it? Is their hospital going to accept it? So we're planning a lot earlier this year than we ever have. And not only just on the MA side of it, but also on the PDP side as well. We're going to see some shakeups with the PDP market as well.
Yeah. And I know just my own clients, over the years, I would tell them every single year, it's worth shopping your PDP, right? And it's not difficult for a client to do it on its own. And when you've got a smaller book of business as an independent agent or a solo agent, we're talking a couple hundred to maybe low thousands, 2,000. When you're talking about an agency, we're talking tens of thousands of people that we've got to deal with. And it's not always possible for us to reach out to every one of those people because
but we can't always reach back out to them before December 7th, right? That's the issue is we reach out to every single one of them, but we reach back out to them in the order that it's received. Now we are implementing some cool new stuff and we're leveraging some AI to help us, scrub through some things, not for enrollments or anything along those lines, but we will be leveraging technology and AI to help get through some of those because there have been years in the past just on the PDP side, not MA side of it, where we weren't able to call those people back because we were not very big on everybody in our customer care team are all licensed agents. So they can actually, help with the PDPs. They can actually, find the right PDP and then enroll them in those PDPs at that point. We're going to leverage a lot of technology this year, Curt.
We're just going to have to. Unfortunately, though, the carriers, they've got to get actual physical mail out to these people.
Yep.
Right. And so that physical mail doesn't always go out on the same day. Right. They might be going September 15th. We're going to start, we need to start getting that mail out, but we start seeing that influx of calls coming in from clients that have received the mail. Now, this does create a little bit of a sticky spot on the compliance side as an agent or as an agency, because we're not allowed to talk plan benefits until 10/1 on PDPs or MA. So the client might have the information in front of them that was sent out by the carrier, but we can't go into details there. Now on 10/1, like you said, all of our customer service reps are licensed, are certified, have all the correct things, so they can go into those benefits compliantly. Not everybody does that, but it's super important to just kind of get your team prepped up, and that, we're prepping, our customer support team. I know it's come up in different meetings that we have of, okay, how are we going to ramp up hours and different things along those lines for that team, because it does end up being a lot. That's about us as the agency. Now, kind of one of the things that's come up in a few of our other conversations that we've had to do with different people is
a lot recently,
the doctors.
Over the past week.
Yeah. I mean, the doctors alone, and we don't think about the doctors quite as much, I think, as agents, and I don't think doctors think about us as much. But we're all in the same boat dealing with a client that's, either losing their coverage and potentially frustrated, or they're having a planned crosswalk. And on the PDP side, plan crosswalking from one to another, it might go from the cheapest plan this year for them by carrier XYZ to the absolute worst plan for them when you reshop them. So they've got that frustration, but the doctors are dealing with this as well. Just think about it from our point of view as an agency. We're trying to retain our, book of business, keep our clients happy and everything. Well, that's happening to the doctors.
They're trying to do the same thing.
They've got hundreds, thousands of clients that maybe no longer can go to them, and they've got that frustration. So when we've got back-to-back years with pretty major changes, it's definitely something that we need to, kind of focus on, prep for. Now we've talked broad, overview of everything. I think kind of the sentiment out there is that the MAPD side of things, in recent years, the plans were very rich. They had very good benefits, low cost, give backs in a lot of cases.
Freebies.
Yeah, we've got what all the gift cards and the the money cards and all those things that were
Shopping.
happening by
Yep.
these plans. What I think is probably going to end up happening this year is we're going to see some tightening by certain carriers, maybe not by all of them. Some might, kind of stay the course that maybe they think they invested properly last year. But they tighten up on the benefits. And specifically, I want to talk about PPOs. Depending on where you are in the country, the PPO plans may have a premium. Some areas they don't. South Florida, where we're located, a lot of our PPOs don't have a premium, might have give backs in some cases, but we're rare. A lot of the country has premiums. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those plans that have a premium, we see that premium go up. We see it go up, and then it kind of gets more attractive to not just talk about MAPD and keeping somebody with their, PPO plan, because now that premiums creeped up and now it's coming close to the cost of a plan G or a plan N for that matter. And it might be worth having that conversation of, hey, yes, you're on a MAPD plan. It's worked for you. You had a low premium for a couple years, but now that premium's gone up, maybe let's reevaluate and let's look at a Medicare supplement plan. Now we're prepared because our agents sell both. If you're not, this is maybe some time to start doing some training as well.
Yeah. I mean, you got a lot to do over the next month. But we just talked to somebody earlier about this, right? I mean, we had a great conversation with the potential downline group that is looking at this, and there's going to be a lot of PPO exits this year. It's already, listen, I mean, we can call United Healthcare out. United Healthcare stopped paying commissions on a lot of PPO plans 2025. Now, what can we expect in 2026? We'll see, right? But we are hearing that there's going to be a lot of PPO exits, all right? And there's definitely going to be some premium increases with lower benefits, lower freebies, lower, Part B givebacks and stuff like that. That's a given, and it's going to happen to most of the major carriers that are out there.
And I think most agents are aware of the plans that ended up going from commissionable to non-commissionable, or going
well,
from...
if you're using Sunfire, you definitely know, because the plans just got taken out of there.
Or even if they didn't go non-commissionable, they might have just got suppressed.
Yeah.
And you can't do an electronic application. And so we saw that. Do our clients know about that? Because a lot of those plans that ended up getting suppressed or getting, moved over to a non-commissionable status were some of the most popular plans. And I think if a carrier is kind of foreshadowing by saying, hey, we can no longer pay agents on new enrollments, that might be a good indicator that plan might be sunsetting.
Maybe.
We don't know, but it's, a little foreshadow that I think, you can probably take a guess. We don't have any true information if that's the case, but that would be my assumption that's probably a good bet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I talked a lot about it. I went to a couple of the carrier rollouts, and they were being very hush-hush about it. And I'd say actually 3/4 of the people I talked to, maybe even, 90% of the people that I talked to probably just didn't know either, right? They haven't been given the information, but I tried getting some, insider information, and I wasn't able to get it out. But I mean, they made it pretty clear that benefits are going to be changing significantly. There's and not trying to call it UHC. I love UHC. We do a lot of business with UHC, but at the end of the day, UHC, there was a letter out there, was it 600,000 that they were projecting? I think it was in the article.
That's the article that I've seen is around 600,000 members might be affected
might be
affected
but it might be
by service
a million, right? Or it could be 200. We don't know.
Yeah. We don't know until it happens. And then when it does happen, that's why I figured this conversation would be a good one to open up the door for anybody that's been on MAPD only group out there. This is a good time to start thinking about, well, it might be a little late, but it's still preparing next year. It's not too late for next year generally to think about having MedSup in your back pocket as a tool, because your clients need it. Not everybody is an MA person, and not everybody's a MedSup person. And that was something that I always, when I was out in the field selling day to day, it was one of those things where if all I had was an MAPD plan that was worth selling. It's the only thing I could offer, right? And if I did have the other options of being able to offer maybe a Medicare supplement, then I might have had a different conversation with that client.
Yeah, I would say the majority of you guys probably have MedSup contracts that are out there. If you're an MA only shop or you're an MA only agent, you've probably got some MedSup, contracts that are out there with your current upline. I mean, I would highly recommend brushing up over the next month, right, on it. And again, we had this conversation with the group earlier. They are 100% pretty much Medicare Advantage, right? And it, not only with certain shakeups with the heaping stuff going away, but also just the landscape of Medicare Advantage altogether. And I've had 5 or 6 calls over the past couple weeks regarding Medicare supplements. People are waking back up to Medicare supplements, but something that he said, in that meeting, and I'm sure you know what I'm going to say here. What did he have one of his agents sell I think he said his father.
Yeah.
Medicare
supplement. Yeah.
We talk about that all the time. I talk about it in all my videos. I just did a video that'll be coming out in the next couple days as well, probably at the same time that this video comes out. And I said it in that video as well. You as an agent, right? Even if you don't really, really know Medicare supplements, you don't know the insides and outs of them, you're probably going to buy a Medicare supplement yourself, right? And you're probably going to sell it to, get it to your family members as well. So why not get this in your portfolio today, for 7 weeks from now when shit starts getting real?
Absolutely. And really what it comes down to is, do we want to have the conversation? If I'm comfortable selling MA to my clients constantly, not having to worry about collecting premium or payment in a lot of cases, sometimes we do, but on the MA side, you always have the option of deducting from your Social Security check. We don't have that option as a Medicare supplement. We've got to actually collect payment. So it's a little bit different of a conversation. But if you're comfortable doing it for your parents and for yourself, then having that conversation for your clients is absolutely something that you can do and you know how to do.
And we talked to another, and I mean, I want to bring this up, Curt, and I can't say who it is, but it's another potential, partner of our potential downline, that we're contemplating on bringing them down in the downline hierarchy. We're very picky and choosy of who we work with on the brokerage side of it. And, this group, they work directly with hospitals, and a lot of these hospitals now are starting to get to a point where they don't even want to deal with Medicare Advantage. So now, right, so using the example that you just said earlier, right, all of a sudden, ABC company, right, decides they want to pull out of that county, and then you've got, let's call it 10,000 members that go to this hospital facility, Baycare in our area, one of those, facilities that have a number of people that are on those plans because that plan's amazing. Now all of a sudden it goes away. Now what happens to that doctor facility? What happens to the hospital, right? So what a lot of them are doing now is they're sending out letters to their clients and saying, hey, we think you should go on a Medicare supplement.
I mean, I personally dealt with this back in the day with doctors. I mean, and actually it happened a lot when the Affordable Care Act came into place. Some companies thought the Affordable Care Act was going to be a big boondoggle for them. They were going to be able to sweep up a lot of people. They did. They got a lot of enrollments on the under 65 side, but it affected their over 65 side. And they had to cut in my county, in Palm Beach County here in South Florida, one doctor or one plan cut about 40% of their network. And so what I dealt with that AEP was I was going out and I'd sit down and they'd have, the client would have a letter out that would say, hey, 5 of your 6 doctors that you saw in the last 12 months. And remember, these are seniors. They're going to doctors and they're going a lot. 5 of your 6 doctors are no longer in network. And so then I had to pull out my provider directory, look up the doctors, and I go, well, good news is 4 of them are in network with this other company. Unfortunately, I can't get all 6 of them.
Can't get all of them, yeah.
And so it's a headache. And so in some cases, the doctors that were the 2 that weren't on either plan, I mean, I don't know what happened. That office probably lost a whole boatload of business that year, probably took a bunch of recovery time to get back. So that frustration has been around for a while with, doctors and hospital groups. And I mean, you see it with, what is it, Mayo Clinic or Cleveland Clinic that doesn't accept any MA at all. And they just say, too bad.
Or if they do is like one, it's like a real regional plan or something like that, which very few lives that are on it.
Yeah, those little smaller plans that are, specific and they work really well with that group. Well, that's not for everybody else. And a lot of times, a big sales point on the MedSup side is you can go to any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the country. And that is true on a PPO plan, but it's not always true.
Yeah.
Right. What it comes down to is you can go to them and you can pay the full freight of the bill, and then you can collect whatever you're supposed to get, reimbursed for from the company, because they don't want to deal with it. And in some cases, I ran into it with my own personal clients where even though they should be able to go to the doctor because they were on a PPO plan, the doctor's office just flat out said, no, we don't accept it. We don't know how to accept it. Sorry, we don't want to get ourselves into that headache of paperwork. I know personally from some of the doctor's offices I worked with, they had a whole team of people in the back that all they did was paperwork for, getting prior authorizations, getting referrals and things like that done. And some of these doctor's offices are just like, I don't want to hire that admin staff. And so we could be seeing a little bit more of it this year, especially from what happened last year. I think it is important to kind of think about these years together, because if you've got people that are in that same situation twice, last year was a big year in terms of service area reductions. If we see that again this year, I think some of those people that got hit 2 years in a row are going to be wanting to have that conversation. And if it's, call it 600,000 last year, maybe it's that same 600,000 people this year, they're going to be more specifically frustrated and they're going to be asking those questions. And if your agents don't have the ability to answer them, or they, maybe just are out of practice, then they're probably going to be going somewhere else.
Yeah. And this is the video before the video. We are going to do a video of, really what it's going to look like and what PDP prices are looking like and all the information that we can give out. I'd say it's probably in the next week. We're going to compile a lot of that information and get it out to you guys. But if you can prepare just a little bit between now and October 1st, that's why we're getting this video out to you guys, right? Think about Medicare supplements. If you don't know how to do it, right, it's not that hard. It's just doing the right things for your clients. You can still pick up a couple contracts, through your current FMO, through a new FMO, whoever you're working with on that side. Of course, if you're an agency that's talking to us, or you're a good group that wants to learn how to sell MedSup, we absolutely are still onboarding, new groups for AEP as well. But again, we're being very selective of who we're working with on our side of it. Listen, reach out to us. We're going to be putting out another video probably a week from now, to kind of go more in detail on this type of stuff. But if you have any questions, let us know. Reach out to us at Brokerage, brokerage@teameip.com, on any of our social media handles, or any of our messenger platforms or anything else like that. But if you got anything, let us know. We'd love to point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. And all those links are going to be shared below in the description. So open that up and click on it, and we'll talk to you.
Perfect.